Hello and welcome. My name is Seth Campbell, and this is Together We Cast. On today's program, we're going to bring it right back to basics for you. Join me as we sit down with the addict formerly known as Sim to discuss his first 30 days in treatment.
Oh, gosh.
You can really taste the blue.
This looks fucking great.
Hi, and welcome to the studio space at Together We Cast. My name is Seth Campbell, and I'm joined by the newcomer today. This is Sim. Welcome, Sim.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. I see Sim a lot in the morning meeting that we attend here. It's great to have you and to finally meet you in person.
Same, I agree. It's nice to meet you in person. Thank you.
Sim, tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience, and what brought you to Together We Can here.
Right. Well, my name is Sim. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And what brought me here was living with delusion and insanity.
Yeah.
And, I knew I needed to clean up. I made an effort to get clean a couple of times. And the latest time I thought, well, I heard from a few people that I really respected about meetings, but I was kind of like, I don't need to go to meetings. And then I worked at a job in Kelowna where my supervisor, the first day I'm on the job, the guy doesn't even know my name, but he was telling me all about NA and he knew everything about me. I mean, I knew right away. I couldn't pull the wool over this guy's eyes.
Yeah.
I couldn't lie. He knew every excuse. He knew every story. He knew everything I was up to. He didn't even know my name.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about NA. So I'm like, okay, I got to listen to this guy.
Don't you love it? Like you might start to notice it too with the guys that come in fresh. Like, as alcoholics and addicts, we are like Olympic level liars and cheaters and thieves. And when people try to pull that old game on us, that all the things and the tricks that worked out with the normies, it's almost laughable. Like
The only people we're fooling are ourselves at that moment, right?
100%.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, so I knew I had to go to meetings after I met this supervisor of mine in Kelowna, and so I went back to the Kootenays and I started going to meetings. And I think it was my fourth or fifth meeting in. I went back to my brother's house and I said to my brother, damn, like I realized tonight meetings are not going to be enough to get me clean. I got to go to treatment. And the funny thing is my brother had this big smile on his face and his wife started crying. And I thought, that's weird. They really reacted to what I said. Right. And so, when I showed up at treatment here, my arrogant self was saying to people, I'm here under my own free will. I chose to come here. But, in reality, when I thought about it, I'm like, damn, because after I went home that night and said that to my brother and my sister-in-law, the next day, Craig Fluter was there to pick me up to bring me here.
Yeah.
Like my brother started talking to the treatment center a week before I came to that realization. Like I was the last one at the party.
Oh, 100%.
Right. And then I'm walking around the treatment center saying, yeah, I came here of my own free will. It's my choice. Right. Yeah. The choice was made already, I'm the last one.
It's so funny how all of a sudden treatment doesn't look so bad when you don't have a place to live. No one will give you a job. Your family won't return your calls. It's all of a sudden you get this great idea, I should go to treatment.
Yeah. I'm Einstein. I got a great idea, right? But I mean, I knew my life was the definition of insanity. I mean, I kept trying the same thing over and over and over again, hoping for a different result. Kept getting the same thing, right?
Yeah.
My way of thinking, doing things my way. That's what got me here.
Yeah.
Right. And, I'm learning so much here. This is, the best decision that was ever made for me in my life.
Yeah. That's awesome. But it's one of those things too, like you really got to come in of your own will.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you don't want it, like even just a shred of you has to want to come here or else there's no point. Like
for sure.
You're going to come in, the resentments are going to be just bubbling right off the top. You'll be out the door in 3 days tops.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we already got enough of our own mental stuff to deal with without also having that resentfulness of being here. Yeah. I'm so lucky to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I felt pretty much exactly the same way right up to my third week, where it's funny. That's when I started to notice who wasn't doing their chores. started to notice the chips and the paint, all these little things that sort of anything, because my brain was just in overdrive looking for anything to discredit the experience and to run away or anything like that. It's amazing how quick that gratefulness can evaporate. Like once you start to really get into the work and really start to challenge and get pushed, and that alcoholic part of my brain was just in overdrive looking for anything to run, and all it wants to do is discredit, isolate.
I really appreciate you sharing that with me, because I like to say I'm really high on my recovery right now.
Yeah.
And I know that it won't, like, everything is temporary, right? I know that being way up here means that you're going to come down at some point, right? So that I appreciate that share, because I will listen to you as my senior, and I'll be cognizant of that and try my best to stay on track, right? Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I wouldn't put that much faith in me yet. I still, that's the funny thing about recovery, is that we're all in the same boat, just doing it one day at a time, right? Like, that's all we ever get. And I think that's the only way I can frame it, because I think thinking about being sober for the rest of my life was daunting, right? Like, it's something that I didn't even want at first.
Right.
Like, why on earth would I never want to be able to enjoy a drink? Yeah. I mean, I've never enjoyed a drink, right? Just the idea of a drink makes me angry.
Right.
I want 6. I want 12. I want a bottle of Wild Turkey. Yeah.
It's I used to love Wild Turkey as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Brownest of the brown liquors. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, and that's been a struggle for me too. Like, setting down that glass pipe. I mean, I can't ever pick it up again. No. I'm of the age. I have a 10-year-old whose life I was messing up. Yeah. I've had a huge impact on my family. Like, this is a one and done for me. Yeah, it's got to be. That's my focus, right? 100%. One and done. I'm in it 100 and as much as I possibly can be at every moment. Yeah, it's the only way. I just got to, I need a few lessons in humility still, for sure. Maybe a lot of lessons in humility. And I just got to keep my head down and keep pushing my way through my work.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's an awesome mindset too. Like, like the guys in long-term sobriety that I tried to copy and model, they all do the same thing, but we all have the same ups and downs, right? We still have that addict alcoholic brain that once things have been going good, it wants us to stop doing things.
Let's celebrate, or let's let our guard down, right? Yeah, exactly. No, I'm very, very fortunate that I've had some great role models to that extent. I mean, my roommate for my first 3 weeks here is a very, very solid individual who's here a number of days, and he was my role model at first. I'd make my bed neat, he'd make his neater, and it wasn't a competitive thing. It was like, I'm like, oh damn, look how he's making his bed. Yeah. I better step this up, right? Yeah. And I'd step it up, and then the next day, and again, it honestly not a competitive thing. It was like he was modeling for me all those little things that I needed to be doing, and I really appreciated the heck out of it. Like, it was a big deal.
God, isn't it? Before, in your other life, were you making your bed every day?
I didn't have a bed, really.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, like, I hear that. When I reread my last 90 for class the other day, and I had to preface it by saying, boys, I'm so humiliated by my last 90 that it's almost a comedy piece for me, because I had such a poor me, woe is me attitude about life that it's almost humor. I have to look at it as humorous. Otherwise, I'm going to have trouble not accepting it in a negative light. But I slept outside last year, 4 months. I didn't have a blanket or a pillow because I didn't believe that I deserved them. Oh, shit. Like, how messed up is that, right? Yeah. How much of it, like, what kind of headspace do you need to be in? But when you use the type of substances I used, in the quantity that I used them, in the consecutive days that I used them, your frame of reference, your reality is completely delusional. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I've got nothing. Yeah. You fail to see any of the positives in your life, and you get into that downward spiral, that tailspin of paranoia, a delusional behavior. Everybody's looking at me. Yeah. Right. And it's just like, when I read it now, I'm like, oh man, this is embarrassing.
I love that exercise of the last 90 days.
Yeah. At first I was like, and then they're telling me, like, this guy who I haven't even met yet, Jesse Kiss. They're like, Jesse Kiss says reread this every day. And I'm looking at it thinking, why the hell do I have to reread this every day? I wrote the damn thing.
Yeah.
Right. But then I'm realizing, oh, that's arrogance creeping into my life again.
100%.
Because I know you. Who are you? You went to school to teach people about how to go through, to become a facilitator. No, I know about my treatment better. I don't need to reread my last 90. And then I'm like, damn it.
Classic.
My way of thinking got me here.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ego.
And
Man.
it's funny too, because like I can only really talk about my experience, but like I look back at a lifetime of people trying to help me, like right from a child, and me always thinking I'm smarter than that. I know a better way. You don't understand. You don't understand how I've suffered. And worse, I'm not even going to tell you about it because then I can't feel bad about it.
Right.
All these secrets, all these secret shames, all these hidden truths that I kept almost as like, a trump card in case I got in trouble.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would get caught and then I knew I could whip it out.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I only did that because of this. And, oh, you should feel sorry for me.
Of course.
Can I have $40?
Yeah, I did the same kind of thing. And, man, I'm just so lucky that people have been good to me. There's so many good people out there. There's so many people to be grateful for. It's unbelievable. It's honestly unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy. And like, I'm so lucky to be here. Like I went to an offsite meeting the other night at the Hope Group, and there's a lot of people in that room, right? Yeah. And I'm looking around thinking like, wow, how many people are in Vancouver that can't get into treatment, that there's a barrier, or they're waiting, they're on a wait list, or they want to go, but they got kids and they're single mom or single dad. And how many people are out there trying to work through the steps on their own, read the book on their own? They don't get weekend courses on anger management, relationships and stuff. And here I am in a facility, a team of trained experts, facilitator. What Jordan is my what do I call it? Case manager. I got a psychologist that I speak I speak to, like a nutritionist, the doctor.
This is the best time. I had the time of my life in treatment.
Yeah,
I was just obviously I moved past my week 3 sort of scaries and then became grateful again, right? Like it came in another wave, and then eventually I got to this place where I saw picking up other people's cereal bowls as like service.
Yeah, same.
Right? And I would just do it and I wouldn't say anything about it.
Yeah. Like there's some things I've been doing and I don't really care to say about it either. Like, right. There's holes, you see gaps, right? And you can just kind of plug yourself in and people are really appreciative, but that's not even why you do it, right?
No.
You do it to toe the line, right?
Yeah. And it's such a weird change, hey?
Yeah.
Because like there was a time, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but it's like, if I saw $20 peeking out of anyone's wallet, I was instantly starting to think of ways to get that.
Yeah.
There wasn't a person, at the end of my run, I was literally stealing money out of my kids' piggy banks.
Wow.
So it's like, there's not a person I wouldn't rob.
We've all gone through it, eh? Like, I mean, I was out there cutting firewood, one summer, and I'm cutting a cord a day, and I owed some drug dealers some money, and I owed some other people some money. I had a few people hanging off of me that were bleeding me. And, at the end of one day after I cut a cord of wood in like a hot July, I didn't have enough money for food. And I thought, this is bullshit. I deserve food. So I went into Safeway, I filled a basket, I walked right out the door. Yeah. Well, that turned into me rolling out full shopping carts for people. That turned into me stealing like 2 F-350s, a CRV, trying to steal a 966 front end loader, a snowblower, a canoe, 4 mountain bikes, like a couple of other cars. Like, and I don't consider myself to be a thief. 26-foot motorhome, like man, my gray area, like black is a shade of gray, right? Yeah. My gray area knows no limitations. Yeah. I mean, if you told me I'm not allowed to have a Kleenex because these belong to some guy named Stan, I wouldn't take a Kleenex. I can't, and because my gray area knows no limit, knows no boundaries.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, going through this, I always thought I was different, right? I didn't think I had a problem because I had a job, and I was somehow luckily able to show up for it enough that they didn't fire me and keep that going, right? So I never had that switch in me that was like, oh, my life is messed up, but really I've come to realize there's no difference between me and the people on the downtown east side.
Oh, 100%.
I just didn't get there yet.
Yeah. You were just luckier or whatever, right? Yeah. Or you had better people in your life, or you you can white knuckle it a little bit harder than the next guy, right? Like I mean, I lived right next to the downtown east side for 10 years, and I did that whole time. I did one tab of ecstasy, and I ate a few pot cookies that I bought at Wreck Beach so I could go skateboarding.
Yeah.
You know, and like I think like I was sober, you know, like me again being arrogant, right?
Yeah.
But really, I was white knuckling it, and where I maybe have a slight variation of opinion is I was happy when I was white knuckling it, but in my heart, I always knew, you know, a few slips, boy.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I could outsmart it. I got resting, right? My brain got resting, and I'll outsmart it. And at that point, it owned me.
Yeah.
100% it owned me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, what? You've been here for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
How long is your stay going to be?
You know, that's a funny thing because at first I'm like 30 days, 30 days. And when Craig Fluter drove me back, like again, I had a guy drive 700 kilometers to pick me up.
Yeah.
And drive me back in the same day. I had a chauffeur, right? Best decision I ever made. It's so
Exactly.
funny. Like I had a chauffeur, and I get in the truck, and he's like, "Tell me your story," and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna need to stay for at least 90. We got to fix your way of thinking." And I'm thinking like, bro, are you not listening to all the stories I just told you about all the people that screwed me over, and that's why I am where I'm at, right? Pretty funny stuff. So, then I'm like 30 days. Then I'm like, well, okay, 60 days. And then I'm like, well, somebody says, it's 90 days to form a habit. I'm like, God damn, okay, 90 days.
Yeah.
I tell my brother, he's my benefactor, right? He's paying for me 100% to be here. Huge, right? So I called him up. I'm like, yeah, I think I need to be here a year. You got the money for it? He's like, okay.
Awesome.
But 90, and now I'm thinking 90, and then I would like to transition. I think like this is up in the air.
Yep.
And my mind is open to whatever. Like I'll defer to the expertise of my case manager.
You should go to second stage.
Second stage. I'm
100%.
thinking,
yeah. It's a magic thing. Hey, I wanted nothing to do with it at first, of course, too, because I'm a normal.
Yeah, right.
I'm a normal alcoholic, right? I don't want to do that, but
you got it, right?
Yeah.
You got it. Don't worry about me.
Yeah. Well, I thought, same thing. I thought a month would be great. Towards the end of my month, I was like, man, I should really be doing another month. Just getting into it. Then did 2 months in primary, then went to second stage, and it has just been life changing. It's just that extra layer of protection. It's just a nice transition back into the real world.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad to hear that from you. Thank you very much for sharing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got to say it. And I suggest, you think about it. Obviously, don't make any rash sort of decisions yet, because ultimately you've got to do what you got to do. But I'm not here to plug anything, but the sober living houses here are amazing. And for the most part, it's really good dudes. We're all sort of recovery based for the most part, right? And everyone's just, it's like a better version of treatment.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I haven't heard much about 2.0.
Yeah.
And so, obviously I'll have to check in with my family and see what fits and what works and make sure.
Yeah.
But my recovery is still number one, of course, right? But I mean, I'm turning 50 this year. I have a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
This is one and done for me. So if I got to go all in, I got to go all in. That's all it is, right?
That's awesome.
Because there's no cushion, there's no margin for error.
Yeah.
I'm not 22 years old with nobody else to worry about, right?
I know, right? I couldn't. I mean, I know for myself at 22, there wasn't a world where I was getting sober and staying sober.
Same.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's so.
But also too, just culturally, like I've said this before, everyone's sober now. There's no more of these heroic drunks and coke users anymore. Like that's not really celebrated. Like the mask is off of that. Like that sort of reckless era of the partying of like the late 90s, early 2000s. That sort of inconsequential drug and alcohol use has kind of created a lot of problems for a lot of people, and sober is kind of the new drunk.
Yeah, I would my experience tells me that I would kind of agree with you on that one. Like again, I have my own. I can only refer to my own narrow view of things as a Canadian of middle class upbringing, right, without anything bad or coming from a war torn or what have you, right?
Yeah.
But in my narrow view of things, I would agree with you that behaving the way that I used to behave is actually like, if you want to meet the girl or whatever, like, it's kind of like, ugh,
Yeah.
this guy's a mess. Like, he's
Yeah.
gross, right?
Yeah. It's not celebrated,
Yeah.
but like, 25 years ago, someone having a couple drinks and smoking a joint before going to school, before going to work, like that was kind of celebrated.
Yeah.
There was that sort of feeling that like it's okay to have 3-4 drinks throughout a day and then get blackout drunk on the weekend. Like that's just having a good time.
Yeah. Even at parties, right? Like, talk to Tim here, who's filming, like, about Shambhala. Like, Shambhala, like, I mean, is a big rave, right? That you can stay out there for 7 days if you want.
Yeah.
Even there, that kind of behavior in some circles, it's still okay.
Yeah.
But in a lot of circles, it's like you're at a rave, you're at a party. Like, this is, like, my friend used to call it drug camping, right?
Yeah.
And like
It's
it's actually not even really like acceptable there anymore. And
Yeah.
they're a party that's big into the whole harm reduction science, and they have like doctors and nurses now, and they have people from university that come there to train.
That is wild.
It's called mass gathering medicine.
That's crazy. I mean, all my experiences at Shambhala were, in the mid and late 2000s, right? Like,
Right.
2004 to 2008 ish. So it was very different.
Yeah, it was very different.
It was very different.
Even the mindset there is changing.
Yeah.
People still, sure, they do it like I used to, but there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm sober, or today I'm sober, or I'm taking it easy during the daytime, and that's like a big shift.
Huge.
They turn the music off at night now too. Like in the morning, early morning, they turn the music off until like 11 o'clock, which
wild.
I was dead set against, but it makes sense actually. We don't need to be so self-centered. We don't need to be like these crazy consumers with a straw hanging out of our nose the whole damn weekend, right? I mean, it's gross. It's actually gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it just isn't, that's not what is popularized and celebrated.
Yeah.
It's like there's a shift that's started to happen, and it's blowing my mind that
For sure.
Shambhala is changing like that.
Yeah.
Because this was sort of like the Olympics of drug and alcohol use.
Yeah, really.
Right? Like there was just camps, and everyone would be partying, and everyone's trying to outdo each other and see who can stay up the longest on the most.
I mean, I'm certain that, like, I haven't been in a few years now. I'm certain that thing still kind of goes on, but the people that I know that still go to that party, there's definitely a shift.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I couldn't go with them.
Yeah.
Because I was an everyday, all day kind of guy, right? So I couldn't even hang out with them anymore because they didn't really like to be around me.
No, they're casuals.
Yeah.
Like I passed that threshold too, right? Like, my friends that I spent years and decades with, partying and going on awesome vacations and all this stuff. Like when I sort of transcended, they were still casual. Like they can go party like that for a weekend a year.
Yeah.
And put it down and put it back in the box, and it goes back on the shelf and walk away from it. And for me, I obsess about it. I can't wait for the next party. And then soon it's not even a party. I just was alone.
Party every day and celebrate nothing, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's no party.
There's no party.
There's no party.
No. Party of self-pity.
Yeah. And it's like, at the end of the run there, it's like I'm not even feeling good. I just am not feeling horrible.
No, you're
anymore.
just trying to maintain. Yeah. It's a funny thing, and not really humorous. And the whole mindset shift, I agree with you 100%. But I do have to say, I was talking to one of the guys here who drives people around in the druggy buggy because he's driving me. Again, I have a chauffeur driving me around to try to reclaim my identification because I have no photo ID.
Eh? It's not so bad.
No, his chef's cooking for me. Like, oh, I don't like what kind of steak salad they made today. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Give me a break, man. So he's driving me around yesterday, and he says to me, though, and this really hurt me, actually. He said that he was on Hastings the other day, and he saw people that appeared to be about 14 years old with fentanyl pipes hanging out of their mouth. Oh, and there's that kind of thing, right? Yeah. And it's a war out there. Like Jake, he's my bro who's here, and he came from the block. Yeah. He tells you it's a war out there. Yeah. Like this stuff is serious, man.
Oh yeah.
Relapse is serious. Doing these kinds of things is serious.
Yeah. It's a life taker.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I'm glad to see and hear about the shift in mentality, but I'm also very cognizant of the fact that there's still a lot of people, and a lot of young people dying out there. They don't get the chance that we had. They don't have the opportunity we had, right? Out of respect, how many First Nations, like the First Nations, rightful owners of this land, how many First Nations people in Vancouver
No, God.
are still suffering and have barriers or are on a waiting list,
Yeah.
would like to go to treatment but can't for various reasons, or have real or imagined, because you can argue against a lot of the barriers, but put a barrier in front of a drug dealer, right? Or a drug user, sorry. It only needs to be about an inch high, and they'll try to go around it.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, out of respect to all those people, I won the lottery, the day I walked in here, and I got to respect it.
Man, Sim, that is a great attitude to have here. And man, I'd love to check back in with you a bit if you'll come back.
I would love to.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that's all the time we have for this sit down. But man, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Same. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Taste the blue. This looks fucking great.
Quick update about Sim. He is currently thriving at second stage. Just took a 4-month chip and goes by the name Meta now. Now, we're going to get to the heart of the internet's most requested questions on addicts and addiction. Join our panel of experts for a little segment we like to call Ask an Addict.
Taste the blue. This looks fucking great.
Hello, my name is Mark, and I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict.
So my name is Sabina. I've got 12 years of continuous sobriety.
My name is Declan McSweeney.
My name's Tressa. I'm an addict.
I'm Tim.
I'm Ariel.
I am going to do some Q&A for you all.
Let's get into it.
So ask an addict, why do addicts lie?
Why do addicts crave sugar?
Why do addicts...
Why do alcoholics lie?
Why do alcoholics
Why do alcoholics drink?
Why do addicts self-sabotage?
Why do alcoholics?
Why do
Why
addicts...
do I drink? Why do I drug?
Why do addicts refuse treatment?
Why do addicts crave sugar? Okay, so I think it's like a dopamine thing that's going on, especially like opiate addicts. They come into treatment or detox, they get sober, and they're left with this big dopamine chasm. They have no dopamine in their brain, and they're gonna find it from somewhere, right? So they eat sugar, they eat Sour Patch Kids, they eat those, live wires. Those ones are really good. And it's just the way she goes, right? You eat sugar, and hopefully you're able to stop and incorporate better eating habits in the future. But those first 30, 60, 90 days, you're going to want some Sour Patch Kids nearby, because it's going to be a bumpy ride.
So ask an addict, why do addicts lie? Well, that one's easy. It's because we want to get what we want, how we want it. It's really not a hard concept, but it's definitely one that's difficult to shake. But the issue is that when you get caught in it and don't remember what you said before, so it's always very tricky to sort of figure out what's what.
Why do alcoholics lie? Well, usually because if we don't, people will get mad at us, and then we can't drink or drug as much as we want. So you gotta lie to keep the party going.
And why do alcoholics live so long? I don't think alcoholics live so long. I think they maybe die a little sooner if they keep drinking. Maybe if you get sober, you live a little longer. Why do alcoholics get angry? Because we're alcoholics and we drink a lot of alcohol, and alcohol makes people really, really angry, and we get ourselves into the stupidest situations that, only to blame ourselves, but we're mad.
Why do addicts self-sabotage? Well, the reason, when I was in addiction, the reason why I self-sabotaged is because I hated myself and I felt like I was worth nothing. So I felt like I didn't deserve anything, didn't deserve life. And so anything that came my way, I pretty much self-sabotaged because I felt I wasn't worth it.
What's the next one? Why do addicts relapse when things are good? I really can't speak to this, but from what I've seen from friends that have gone through this, it's because it's so quick that you forget how bad things were. And there's always it's not going to get that bad again kind of stuff that, to be honest, it doesn't just get that bad, it actually gets worse.
Oh, why do addicts relapse when things are good? Well, probably because things aren't good, actually. Like you can have everything going on the outside for you, but internally things are not good, right? So, you know, on my last relapse, things were definitely not good on the inside, but my family was happy for me. I'd already relapsed. I hadn't told them. My family's like cheering me on, and they're like, you go, you're almost at a year, da da da. And I'm just like, holy fuck, I'm living a lie again. How did this happen, right? So, you know, it comes from like an incongruency in yourself, right? People are looking to you to stay sober and to be sober. And, you know, if you're in a bad space spiritually, or say you've already relapsed, and you're not being honest, it's an honesty thing at the end of the day. You know, that's what I think really boils down to addicts, you know, relapsing when things maybe are perceived to be good, but internally there's a void in there, right? There's something going on internally. So I think that, I mean, at least that's my story, right? That's why I relapsed when things were good.
Why do addicts refuse treatment? For myself, the reason why I refused treatment is because I always felt like I had the answers. I could find a way. The insanity part about me is I was one of the type of guys that was like thinking that I was gonna crack the code, where I was gonna find the best formula of doing drugs and alcohol, and then I was gonna go into AA and NA meetings and sell it to these people so they could successfully use. That's how insane I was.
Why do addicts refuse treatment? Giving up dope is never like a pleasant experience. Yeah, it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, and, you know, only for the bravest of the brave.
Okay, why do addicts isolate? Because they're safe and protected from the world, kind of thing, right? Like, the world can't hurt me if I'm just in my room eating Cheetos, watching Desperate Housewives, I think is the idea. But then what ends up happening is you end up like not facing anything. And you end up, you know, like any kind of spiritual growth or anything that happens in sobriety happens from, you know, doing uncomfortable things and putting yourself in, you know, precarious situations that lead to growth, right? Like walking through uncomfortability. You're not going to be doing that in your room watching Desperate Housewives, eating nachos and, you know, various other things. So I think that's why addicts isolate, right? They're scared. It's a fear thing. I think it's a fear thing, to be honest. But yeah, dude, I do one day of isolating, and by the end of the day, it's like I have reversed like an entire year of progress from one day of isolating. So don't do that. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This was Ask an Addict.
Loved having all those beautiful people come in to share their expertise with us. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And from all of us here at Together We Cast, may your day be happy, joyous, and free.